Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to PSGL, the Premier Team Gaming League, for the E-Series. It's round number 3 of the season here in Zandvoort in Holland. My name is Joshua Davis, and alongside me once again is none other than Dan Field. Dan, how are we doing?
Pleasure to be back here once again, Josh, and hello to everyone who is watching at the moment. Got an exciting race up ahead in the Netherlands at Zandvoort. Twisty circuit can be a very big challenge to some of these drivers. I think we're going to see an interesting race.
We absolutely should do indeed. Zandvoort, of course, very famous circuit for not many of our F1 races, of course. It's been famous around more GT racing. Obviously, it came in 2020, wasn't used, of course, during the pandemic, and was first introduced in 2021, and homeboy Max Verstappen winning that race there. We'll have a look to your commentary side of things then. Constructors, if I can actually get my words right. It is Williams Esports who still take that firm lead, 108 points, place to Veloce Elite's second place in 67. Race Clutch climb up to third with 62. Parnell sit in fourth with 59, and RHG sit fifth with 45 points. We'll get to them in a little bit later. Viscaros Esports in sixth, Team TF10 in seventh, 39 place 34 for 6th and 7th. FBR sits 8th. They have a quali ban tonight for a late lineup registration, with SRT sit in 9th and Haas sit in the top 10. We'll get to those right about now, Dan. Let's just talk about that for a moment, because after that, obviously you would expect Williams not to be further down. They finished 4th or 5th with Alvaro Carreton last week, but the two teams got disqualified from France for, I believe it was teaming.
Yeah, of course, RHG and Haas F1 Esports. Of course, RHG being the team that powers Haas, they were known to be working together, unfortunately, in that race, which is clearly outlined in the rules that the drivers, they're not allowed to work across teams. There was, requesting to allow, each other through and stuff, and it ended up working really well for them. Of course, it was a Haas RHG podium in the end. All 4 drivers have been disqualified, and that leaves Alvaro Carreton with the win in front, despite finishing 4th on a circuit. So, a little bit of controversy headed into this one this evening. It is key to mention both teams are still in the tournament, but if they do it once more, then of course they're going to get banned. That is what was outlined in the stewards briefing. So unfortunate that we see this so early on in the championship, and really hope that nothing happens like this again.
Absolutely. Hopefully everyone has learned their lesson. A little bit of a slap on the wrist, but we can get back to racing here in Zandvoort. We're about to get ready for qualifying in a few moments' time. Hello to everyone in the chat. Hope you are enjoying your Friday evening, watching our great racing here in Zandvoort, here in Holland. We should be going live in a few moments' time. We'll just get you updated with the lineup. Don't have it on hand, unfortunately. A few technical issues playing there, but I'll read you out who we have tonight. For Veloce, it is Harvey Cohen and Simon Shooter. With that Williams, I'll get you over to that right about now. With Williams, it is Will Lewis and Shanaka Clay. New face there. We'll talk to him in a little bit later. FVR with Modestro Mena and Efron Ferrari. Remember, they have a qualifying ban tonight. Max Whistle and Dylan Warren join the TF10 lineup with Jack West and Isfan Pookie at par now, with Alfie Butcher and Xander Van Deeken once again unchanged at RHG, with Conor Muir and Leroy Brown at SRT, with Christoph Seller and Daniel Caton at Race Clutch. A completely new lineup for them, with Piotr Stachlek and Matthias Van Erven at Haas. And then Alexander Kraft and Felipe Sousa join you at VSR. But Dan, probably the main talking point there, Will Lewis, a new driver at Williams.
Yeah, very exciting to see what Will can do. Of course, he's just been announced this evening to have joined the Williams Esports team, so really excited to see what Will Lewis can do this evening. Of course, previously a part of the Veloce Elites. Now he's making a swap over to Williams. Very much looking forward to seeing what Will Lewis can do this evening. But Josh, there are cars beginning to come out on circuit in Zandvoort. It's looking like a nice sunny day here.
Absolutely. Cloudless skies, no chance of rain from what it looks like so far. So we should be in with a cracker. We always are in the PSGL E-Series. We're out first with Harlem Marquis. the TF10 driver, newly TF10 driver. I think he has been. Got released a few weeks ago, I think. He makes his debut in the PSGL E Series tonight alongside Will Lewis, Christoph Seller, Daniel Kjærsen, of course, as well. Harvey Cohen and Timon Shooter alongside, amongst others. And Hala Marquise will surely want to be hitting the ground running first of all in this qualifying session. Everyone on the intermediate compound tire, to start things off. That's Will Lewis, Hala Marquise, and Max Whistle, just to make sure everything is running nice and tidily on their rigs. Nothing's bumping or jumping at all, and we should be all okay out of these final couple of corners with Hala Marquise for a lap around Zandvoort, Dan.
Yeah, of course, on the intermediate tyres, we're not going to be expecting any blistering laps coming out from the Red Bull driver this evening, representing TF10. They had a tough race last time out in France. Dylan Moran had a plethora of issues. I mean, I remember his contact with Thomas Ronha. Of course, neither of them racing this evening. But yeah, we're not going to see any incredible lap times at this point in time. However, Alfie Butcher already coming out of the pit lane on a set of the medium tyres. You don't typically see that this early. You don't typically see the medium tyres actually being run in qualifying trims, so very interesting to see what Alfie Butcher's strategy is. He's been one of the most impressive drivers in this season so far, of course, winning round one. Sorry, didn't win round one. He won on circuit, but then, of course, a 5-second time penalty demoted him down the order. But yeah, certainly in terms of his pace, he's been very, very strong. But, you know, I think he's been a little bit naughty in terms with the stewards, so they're not in the best stead with them at the moment. But yeah, we'll see what he can do as F1 Ferrari 516. He'll retire in the pit lane due to the fact that FER have that qualifying ban. I'd expect Nardi Perez to do the same thing in a few moments' time as Hala Marquise comes towards the final couple of corners. He's looked decent enough on this lap, but of course on the intermediate tyres, you know, you're not looking to push this early on. He's going to come across the line anyway. We'll see what he can do. It's going to be 1 minute 14.293 to start us off.
1 minute 14 there for Hala Marquise, the teammate of Max Whistle, across the line to a 14.366, and Will Lewis put some more in there, place for the 14.290, 3 thousandths quicker than Hala Marquise, obviously on the intermediate compound tyres. Not representative at all, or could be a little bit representative, is Alfie Butcher here on the medium compound tyres. A very rare strategy, I would say, for the RHG man on the medium compound tyres. Don't really see that nowadays anymore in qualifying, as usually are looking to see the soft compound tyres run from that new rule. Of course, qualifying 2 is free choice of tyre anyway. You can choose whatever tyre you desire to start the race on, as we round the final corner with Alfie Butcher heading up towards the line now, staying tight towards that right hand side, flicking it back to the left and across the line for Alfie Butcher. It's a 1 minute 10.905, about 4 seconds quicker than Will Lewis, granted on the drier set of tyres.
Yeah, we'll be seeing the soft compound tyres coming out of the pit lane around about the 10-minute mark is typically what we see as Daniel Shelson crosses the line with a 1 minute 16.145. Not going to be a competitive time whatsoever once everyone fits on the dry set of tyres. It's a bit less pressure in this qualifying session for these guys, given the fact that both FBR drivers are having to retire, so we're only really going to be losing 3 drivers from this session. Of course, pressure's still going to be on for the likes of the SRT, the VSR boys, given the fact that those are some of the drivers that struggle a little bit so far this season, especially in qualifying. We'll just have to wait and see who ends up being eliminated. But with 12.5 minutes left to go, Alfie Butcher still leading the way on his medium compound tyres. We'll see him peeling off into the pit lane momentarily. But from what it looks like, Josh, a lot of drivers just staying in the pit lane. They're biding their time at this point, but I'd imagine once one exits the pits on a soft set of tyres, everyone else is going to follow through.
Definitely. So seems a pretty familiar story in qualifying. Just not many drivers seeming to get out of the pits too early. Just happy to stay in the box and wait for a little while longer, just to make sure they get one lap in as quickly as possible. Just want to talk about Daniel Kjærsen very, very quickly. Obviously, new to the Race Clutch team, probably the new kid on the block, if that's fair to be honest. But he's got a lot of potential as Daniel Kjærsen, and definitely could go along in F1 esports. Dan, don't know if you've known much about him, but what do you think about Daniel?
Well, I've known him through WOR. He's been racing a few times this season in Tier 1, and I know that he is a driver who's very talented in wet weather conditions. He can find himself right at the front of the order once he's having to use the intermediates or the wet tyres. Still got some grand pace in the drive, but yeah, certainly this is a driver that we do need to watch out for. Race clutch getting him early, I would say. Of course, formerly a part of the ET8 team, and if they were to qualify, maybe he'd have been racing for them this evening, but he's been able to jump ship and still find a way into the PSGL E Series. So certainly we do have to watch out for this race clutch representative. But at the moment, with just under 11 minutes left to go in this session, it's a complete ghost town out on circuit. All the drivers in their grid slot. We're going to have to wait and see who gets underway. You can typically see from the mechanics in the pit lane, once they start to move, that's when the driver is coming out. But really, you can only see the Haas and the Williams garage and the Alfa Romeo garage from this point of view. So yeah, we're not in the best place here, Josh.
No, definitely not. But as we said, similar story in qualifying. About 5 drivers selected. Times obviously not very representative, of course. Alfie maybe to be stated, but on the medium compound tyres might try for a soft run later on, but is currently himself on pole position or topping the timing sheets in qualifying 1 with a 1 minute 10.905. Will Lewis sits P2 on debut for Williams with a 14.290, with Harlan Marquis P3 with a 14.293, and his teammate Max Whistle for TF10 sits P4 with a 14.366, and Daniel Clegeson currently last of the lot on the times lap with a 16.145, but I think we're starting to get some laps in, and it's from the Veloce boys. Is it Harvey Cohen or is it Timon Shooter? It's both of them.
Yeah, both of them exiting the pit lane. Harvey Cohen coming up behind his teammate Timon Shooter. Of course, previously a part of the Alfa Romeo esports team. Now he's been put back into the Veloce Elites team. So yeah, Timon Shooter is a driver that I know very well. Back on early, maybe even like in F1 2019, I might have been commentating over this guy in a little PlayStation league called FRL. That was my own personal start, and I'd imagine it's going to be close to his personal start as well. So yeah, a lot of history. Myself and Timon is a driver that I do love to root for. There might be a little bit of bias this evening, so I do apologise everyone for that. But certainly we do have to watch out for himself and Harvey Cohen. Of course, recently in WR this weekend, he was able to pick up a podium, I believe. Yeah, he was P3 in the end. So yeah, certainly this Veloce Elites team this evening, very strong, Josh.
Yeah, definitely so. Harvey Cohen, the new kid on the block, obviously has been racing for quite a long time. Obviously came over on the Xbox platform, qualified for the Pro Exhibition in his P6 in the Challengers on last season's game. Wasn't selected for the for a pro team though, but he got picked up by McLaren Shadow in their academy, and hopefully it can only strive for a little bit more in his current future. And here we go then with Timon Shooter on a time lap here in qualifying. Probably the decent time we will see on the soft compound tyre heading into sector 1. Then the loop coming up now, which dips a little bit. You can take 2 lines here. You can either take an inside or an outside line, and Timon Shooter electing for an insider line as you head through the end of sector 1, the twisting and turning corners, which can catch you out at any time. 24.546 in sector 1, heading into sector 2, then riding on towards the curves on the exit, flicking towards the right and riding on to the exit like a skateboard as much as you can, and flick it back to the right hand side, staying in 4th gear as much as you can, setting up for the left-hander then, which heads on to the DRS straight. A lot of overtaking opportunities can be done down here as you head into the flick on the right and a flick towards the left, using that curb as much as you can. Let it glide out, then cut straight back in to the left-hand side, and then the final couple of corners await you with a flick towards the right and a flick towards the right again for the final corner, staying tight towards that right-hand side line on the white. DRS is wide open, cutting it quite fine across the line. It's 1 minute 10.375 for Timon Shooter, and it's going to be a 1 minute 10.458 for Harvey Cohen.
Decent enough time then from Alfie Butcher on his set of the mediums to not be that far off of the top times at the moment. Matthias van Erven sets the provisionally quickest time. Will Lewis just 5 thousandths in behind him. We've got one of the Alpines. That's the race class driver, Christoph Zeller. Not seen that name in a long time. Just gone ever so slightly slower than his teammate Daniel Shelson. Look at that. The SRT boys, Conor Muir and Leroy Brown, a fantastic showing from them early on in Q1, and they really do need that, sitting in ninth in the standings, only on 30 points is this formerly Xbox-based team, and there it is, Alexander Kraft. 1 minute 10.266. He was very impressive last time out in France when it came to qualifying, and he's seemingly continuing that run of form as Zanne van Dijken goes into P2. And we've got Piotr Stahelek, last one up to cross the line, but it is only going to be P8 for him, setting the exact same lap time as Timon Shooter. It is Van Pookie, of course, having a very impressive round number 1 in Imola. We'll see what he can do as he crosses the line. It is P9 for the Parnell Racing representative, as so far the bottom 3 at the moment who will be eliminated in this session: Alfie Butcher, Max Wiesel, Shanaka Clay and Josh. None of those guys have set a representative lap time at the moment. Alfie Butcher, of course, only on his set of the mediums. He's actually backed off on this lap, so a little bit of pressure applied to the RHG driver. Max Wiesel at the moment on a lap, and Shanaka Clay is coming through the final sector. So surely, who are we going to see in that drop zone?
You could see absolutely everyone. And Shanaka Clay, as you said, coming towards the final couple of corners. Now for Williams, what can he do amongst the gist of it? P2 in Imola, a little bit of a setback at France, got caught in the traffic as he crosses the line now and puts it on the top step of the podium. It's a 10.254, dethrones Alexander Kraft, who's in a heck of a form recently this season by about 8 thousandths of a second. And Shanaka Clay gets that top spot going once again and back probably down where he belongs.
Yeah, Shanaka Clay, driver, of course, very experienced in the F1 esports scene. He formerly used to race for Racing Point, I believe it was, and then he made the switch over to Williams. Certainly he's been around the block, especially on the Xbox side of things. Someone else who's been a part of the Xbox fray is Alfie Butcher, and he's gone once again on another lap. Of course, it's his second lap in a row on his set of the soft compound of tyre. Was unable to improve on his previous best. His teammate Zanne van Dijken comes into the pits and retires. He believes that he is safe on his 1 minute 10.314. We'll be able to see what Alfie Butcher's sector 2 time is looking like at the moment. Currently at 48 through sector 1 and 2. That is an improvement of 0.5 of a second. So it's going to be around about where Leroy Brown is at the moment. However, if he gets a good run out this final corner, we'll see an even bigger improvement from the young Englishman as he opens up the DRS. Where can he place his Alfa Romeo? It is to the top step of the order. Fantastic final sector there. 1 minute 10.175. 3 minutes left to go in this session. I think he can come into the pit lane, cruise his way home, and seal his place into the next part of quali.
Butcher pulling it out the bag once again, 78 thousandths on Shanaka Clay, then 900ths of a second to Alexander Kraft in P3 as well. A 1 minute 10.175 is enough for Alfie Butcher to snatch that P1 spot here in Q1. And as you said, Dan, Alexander Kraft, Zanne van Dijken and Shanaka Clay retiring from the session. They think they're safe on 10.2s and a very low 10.3 for Zanne van Dijken, probably looking at a high 10.3, just looking at where everyone is. Piotr Stahelek currently in P10, 10.3. Might just see you through into Q number 2, but the main drivers at risk definitely. Currently so far, Harlan Marquis, Felipe Sousa and Max Wiesel currently in the drop zone. Christoph Seller is on a lap, who's currently in the danger zone as he rounds the final couple of corners on his out lap to start his final run here in qualifying 1. But you're probably going to need about a 0.2 improvement if you are the likes of Race Clutch, TF10 and Felipe Sousa, but we'll have to wait and see until the checker flag drops. We could see a vast amount of improvement by quite a few people, but so far it's only Max Wiesel, Christoph Seller, Harlan Marquis, Daniel Kierson and Leroy Brown are on outlaps alongside Jack West and Conor Muir at the moment. So 7th and 8th think they're not safe, but for the main parts, it's probably going to have to look like Arfi Cohen and Isfan Pookie have to go out pretty sharpish as well.
Absolutely, just over 2 minutes left to go in the session. Everyone should be able to get out the pit lane, then get around for their outlap if they do so desire. Christoph Zeller on his run at the moment. He come out a bit earlier than everyone else. I think he was banking on the fact he might have made a mistake on his first run, and then he'd have to come back again for another lap. So he's probably overfueled the car ever so slightly. Will sacrifice a little bit of pace, but he is still improving by almost 2/10 of a second. So out the final corner, he could put his teammate in a spot of bother at the moment if he is able to improve. He opens up the DRS. Christoph Zeller now coming up towards the line. Where is he going to place his Alpine? P9 for the moment, a mid.3 for not going to be the safest time in the world, but we'll have to wait and see as we've got, I believe, the next car up to cross the line will be Harlan Marquise on his lap in his Red Bull, and his teammate Max Wiesel in behind. So this is really crucial corners for these guys because they are in the drop zone at the moment. They need the improvement. Harlan Marquise to the line, 10.287. That is safely going to see him into the next session now.
Definitely so, as a few more drivers start to cross the line on their laps. As who is that who's just shot up? Is that I'm not quite sure who that was actually. It might have been I'm not quite sure actually, as we've just seen there, as his teammate, I think it was Max Whistle actually, who puts it into P5, 10.307. Again, mightily close between the two TF10 drivers, as they usually have been all the way through the season, even in the qualifiers, separated by almost less than a tenth. Conor Muir is about to cross the line now for SRT and puts it into the top three. What a lap there from the SRT guys, who have been a little bit under form this season, as Harvey Cohen about to cross the line. He goes into 13th. He's just crossed the line to start his final lap in qualifying, as Leroy Brown also starting to do so as well. As that Daniel Cleason? No, it is Christoph Zeller who's about to cross the line. He's coming back in towards the pit lane. So is Jack West. Is that going to be Piotr Stachelek next across the line? Yes, it is, as Jack West puts them on the top of the lot at 10.137 from the Parnell Racing driver. Piotr Stachelek is about to cross the line now once again. The checker flag is flying, and it's P10 for the Haas man, just behind his teammate of Matthias van Erven, as everyone now starting to cross the line. Simon Shooter into P8. What can the Mercedes of Felipe Sousa do? He's 18th. He is out of qualifying. Daniel Keaton next across the line. He's decided to bail on his lap. Who is next? I think that is pretty much going to be everyone, as Max Whistle comes back into the pits. Istvan Pukki currently on the drop zone. So is Harvey Cohn, who's just behind him. We round the final corner with the Hungarian as he crosses the line now. The man who's been in lots of form this season across the line, P13, should just about be safe. What can Cohen do? Who's currently under the cosh as he crosses the line now? P5, much better from the Veloce man, as Leroy Brown crosses the line right about now. It's going to be 17th. He is out of qualifying, as we see Christoph Zeller, Leroy Brown, Felipe Sousa, F1 Ferrari, Nadi Perez, all out in qualifying one.
That brings us to the end of Q1. Daniel Shelton surviving by 1,000th of a second, able to beat his teammate out there, and I don't think there's going to be a celebration in the Race Clutch team. I mean, they've been not very strong in qualifying, especially, I'd definitely say the weakest out of all of the pro teams. To lose a driver in Q1 is a very, very big loss for them. They're going to have to recuperate. Hope that Daniel Shelton is able to find himself in a strong position heading towards Q2. They want to salvage anything from this race. Very difficult to overtake around here, as Jack West, he tops Q1, Alfie Butcher in P2, Will Lewis ends up in 3rd, and Clay in 4th, Harvey Cohen in 5th. A big improvement from him to get himself out the drop zone. And Conor Muir, very impressed with the P6, 1 minute 10.264 from him. He's ahead of Kraft, Marquise, Shooter and Wiesel, rounding out the top 10. Then Van Dijken, Van Erven, Piotr Stachelek, Istvan Pukki, and Daniel Shelton. They'll all be counting their blessings as they just about survive in the session.
Absolutely, a massively top and turny session there. And once again, Race Clutch, the guys that have probably been the slowest in the pro teams, of course, with Daniel Keaton. One of their drivers in P16 there, getting knocked out by 1,000th of a second. And it's just so interesting. Race Clutch just don't really seem to have the pace this season alongside all the other drivers.
Yeah, they really are struggling in terms of qualifying. They are quite consistent throughout the race, but so far at the moment, I believe they're sitting in and around the mid. Great for Race Clutch so far, and I believe Parnell, one of the community-based teams, is currently placed ahead of them, although Parnell are having a standout season at the moment. So, of course, early days in this championship, but early signs indicating it's not looking very good for Race Clutch at the moment, Josh.
Early days indeed. We're about 3 rounds in already, coming in to halfway done, and they're really going to have to formulate a plot coming in to these next couple of rounds if they want to try and elevate themselves higher up the standings. As we see a little bit earlier times come in, and everyone pretty much on the soft compound side as well. It's Conor Muir who will lead them away. Just behind him, Sander van Deeken in P7 for RHG alongside Daniel Clayton for Alpine, and for Race Clutch with Alexander Kraft just behind him, Alfie Butcher and the Parnell Racing driver, that is Jack West, in P6, top of the timing sheets in qualifying 1, and seem to be coming back to a little bit more pace. Obviously, talking to him earlier, he is very eager to try and qualify for the challenges this season and to try and qualify for a pro seat as well. With Parnell, obviously with links with Red Bull, of course, with Liam Parnell, it could be a pretty decent match for Jack in the not too distant future.
Yeah, maybe it's a way in towards the his way to weave in towards F1 esports. Who knows what is in store for Jack West as qualifying at 2 gets underway. A little bit more cloud coverage overhead, and as expected, all the drivers come out pretty much straight away in this session. Of course, they're most likely going to be using a scrub set of the tyres as Conor Muir gets on the power a little bit too early of the exit of turn number 3, I believe that is, but headed in towards the first sector, in towards sector 2 now. Very tricky through there. He's already not looking all that confident on this lap at the moment, given that it is an old set of the soft compound of tyre. I'd imagine that most other drivers are going to be feeling the exact same thing as he heads in towards the DRS straight, where arguably, if we are going to see many overtakes, they're likely going to be through here and in towards turn number 1, in towards this chicane. Very tricky through here to get it absolutely perfect. Very high curbs as well, can definitely dissettle the car. But through now the final 2 corners, a series of quick right-handers, and flat out through the final turn along this circuit and opening up the DRS. You're actually coming to the end of the corner. To cross the line now, Conor Muir, 1:10.584.
Not bad at all. Sander van Deeken 2/10 slower with a 10.753. Still early days in qualifying 2. Daniel Keaton with a 10.759. And Alexander Kraft once again showing his might with a 10.511. Tops them of the lot. Alfie Butcher P3. Max Vissel now joins the fray into the top spot at 10.470 for the TF10 man, as TF10 starting to get a little bit more form up their sleeve. Matthias Van Erven for Haas is next alongside him. Just behind him, his teammate Piotr Stachlek as he crosses the line into the top 2. Here comes Piotr Stachlek, P4 for him, as I think that was Daniel Cleation just coming back, or was it one of the Williams drivers? I think it was Shanika Clay. Yes, it was. No, it wasn't. I'm not sure who that was actually indeed, but we'll continue with one of the Veloce drivers. That's Harvey Cohen crossing the line now. Pretty close to Piotr Stachlek, just sneaks into P4, and Simon Shooter next to cross the line. He's currently starting his lap for Veloce right now.
Yeah, through the final sector is Simon Shooter coming. At the moment, his teammate currently sitting in P4. Of course, these times are a lot slower than what we typically see in Q1, given that they are on a used set of the tyre. But coming up towards the line now for Simon Shooter, we'll see where he can place his McLaren. Only P11 for the time being. Not the quickest banker in the world for him. He's currently joined in the drop zone by Zander Van Dyken, Daniel Shelson, Harlan Marquise, and Istvan Pukki. Pukki yet to set a lap time at the moment, but I'd imagine the grid is going to be a lot more shaken up come the end of this session. Once again, some standout performances so far from Alexander Kraft and Conor Muir, finding themselves well within the top 10 at this point in time. Of course, that might spell some bad things for some of the pro teams, and I think we could expect maybe a few more eliminations from this Q1 session from some of those top teams at the moment. Veloce and RHG, and indeed RC, Race Clutch, are losing a driver. So we could definitely have a very interesting Q3 session, Josh.
Absolutely. So 9 minutes 50 seconds left to go in the session. It's currently Simon Shooter, Zander Van Deeken, Daniel Cleation, Harlan Marquise, and Istvan Pukki in the drop zone. 10.686 for Jack West currently is the drop zone as well, with a with that P10 spot. as I think that's him just coming out of the pits now, unless that's his team of Istvan Pukki. It is Istvan Pukki just coming out the final couple of corners, coming into turn one out of the pit lane now, as Max Wissel currently topping it by just about 300ths of a second to Matthias van Erven in P2, but TF10 looking much stronger as they have done in recent seasons, in recent races. Harlan Marquis in P14, but definitely more encouraging for Max Wissel in P10, who's out there once again on the soft. So is Shanika Clay for Williams as well, but it could be a breed of a new storm for TF10 tonight.
Yeah, at the moment, given they're in 7th position at the moment, it's not looking too strong for the TF10 team. However, that mid-pack and all the way to the back mark is actually currently occupied actually by Haas F1 team. But yeah, I was saying that all of these are very close teams at this point. So a good performance today from Max Wissel and Harlan Marquis. That could see them up the order, potentially around about where Parnell is. Of course, I imagine that the goal for TF10 and PR are to be the top community-based team, given the fact that it's very unlikely they are going to be able to challenge the likes of Williams, Veloce and Race Clutch. They are just a slight band above them in terms of talent. However, there is still plenty of points to be gained for all of these drivers. Every position matters, given that all the places in this sim, they do provide points. So, everyone's got to be fighting in TF10. They really do need it this evening. Currently, Race Clutch, they also do need a good qualifying, given they lost Christoph Zeller in the first session. Daniel Shelson is going to be trying to ensure that happens as he comes to the end of the second sector, Josh. He's improving by almost 3.5 tenths.
Absolutely. So Istvan Pukki we're on board with as well as coming through sector 1 also, as he currently is purple actually with Istvan Pukki 21.4 I think that was, heading into sector 1 as he flicks towards sector 2 as well for Alpha Tauri, flying towards the right hand side as well. And as you said, Daniel Cleaton top of the lots as well, 10.204 as we've just seen there, 2 tenths clear of Max Wissel. The track starts to heat up ever so slightly. Conor Muir crosses the line to start his few final laps in qualifying, as Piotr Sachlek joins him as well. Harvey Cohen, I think that is next across the line. They're all starting their laps right about now. We'll flip back over to Istvan Pukki. He's just rounding the final corner once again. The DRS wide open, claws into the Alpha Tauri and puts it on pole position at 10.152, just about half a tenth quicker than Daniel Cleaton, as Shanika Clay now joins into the 10.0s. Xander Van Deeken for a moment was in there on pole position. Max Wissel now into a 10.1, dead 1,000ths quicker than Will Lewis, who goes P4. Jack West is P2 with a 10.095. They're all starting to come in now. Matthias van Erven next for Haas jumps into P5. It's getting quicker and quicker and quicker. Butcher now on the front row in P2, and once again Alexander Kraft breaking into the 0.9s. Wow, is this guy on form today and this season, getting back to winning ways, and once again Season South on the top spot, and as we break into the 9s, Dan.
Yeah, Tyrone Shooter across the line. He's not able to improve on his lap. Piotr Stahalek currently, he is able to improve, but not by enough to get himself out of that bottom 5. Piotr Stahalek coming towards the line now. We'll see where he can place his Haas as P5 for the time being. Harvey Cohen up next across the line. We'll see where he can go for Veloce, P8 at this point in time. And then Conor Muir next up to cross the line, but I believe he didn't improve on his lap. He might be going again here, but indeed Alexander Kraft leading the way by almost a tenth of a second ahead of Shanika Clay. It was looking very closely contested. I mean, look at how many drivers are on the 0.0s and the 0.1s. I mean, it's incredible how close this grid is at the moment. And Istvan Pukki is not even 2 tenths off the back of Alexander Kraft, but he is in that drop zone and in that bottom 5. He's going to have to come out once again with just over 5 minutes left to go in this session. However, you said it yourself, Josh, Alexander Kraft, he is on fire.
He absolutely is. France in qualifying, got into Q3 for the first time for VSR, and now currently topping the timing sheets here in Zandvoort once again in Q2. Still 5 minutes left to go in the session. Still probably time for one more lap, and so and who else thinks it's time for one more lap is Daniel Cleaton, who's currently in the drop zone, and as Jonah Martin said, wasn't going to be enough as he crossed the line. Right now, it definitely is not enough. He's currently in the drop zone by about a tenth and a half to Xander Van Deeken, just over a tenth and a half to the R8G man. He's going to need something out of his back pocket to try and get our race clutch into Q3 for the second time this season. Patrick Sipos doing the job there last time out at their home Grand Prix here in France, and picking up that podium places as well. Daniel Cletion next to cross the line on his outlap currently will in P13. But probably, I'm going to assume you're going to need about a 10.0 or a very, very low 10.1, round about Max Whistle, 1 dead, to try and see yourself into Q3.
It is going to be a very big ask for him at the moment, given how close this grid is and how tricky this circuit does tend to be. And it would be a huge, huge loss for Race Clutch to have neither driver in Q3. So a lot of pressure riding on the shoulders of Daniel Shelton, but he heads in towards the first corner of Tarzan Bax, and then off the exit, getting the power down as early as possible, and then running up through the gears in towards the first sector. This banked left-hander, very nice through here. He's got to get the power down as early as possible once again. And it's going to be through the twisty part of the track, the undulating hills of Zandvoort over the sand dunes. And he is up by just over half a tenth in towards sector 2 now, where it does get very technical. Double right-hander up next for him, riding the curbs throughout the corner, but getting on it ever so slightly too much to the right. And he lost the car midway through the corner, was able to save it, but he has decided to back off on it that lap. Hopefully he's fueled up the car enough to go once again. But yeah, it's not looking great for Daniel Shelton and Race Clutch at the moment.
Definitely not having to back out of that run, which is not ideal at all. He's now going to have to try and charge up that battery as much as he can. You can see him trying to lose a little bit more fuel as well, revving up the engine as one of the Red Bull drivers for TF10. Is that Max Vissel? No, it's not. It is Harlan Marquis, who just passes the Race Clutch driver. So he'll be first to cross the line in his final run here in Q2, as TF10 will be trying to get their drivers both into Q3 for the first time this season. He rounds the final couple of corners on this lap, and Harlan Marquis needs about, he needs 200ths to get himself into the top 10. Probably going to need something big to try and get himself into Q3, Dan.
Yeah, absolutely. And given how close this grid is, he doesn't need to find too much time. However, I'd imagine that with everyone coming out onto the pit lane, we're going to see plenty of improvements on the final runs of Q2 with just 2 minutes left to go before the clock strikes 0. Most drivers out on the circuit. Harvey Cohen's just exited the pit lane. It's going to be quite touch and go, especially if he has to get out of the way of drivers on their lap. But Harlan Marquis ample amounts of time to get this run over and done with as he heads into the second sector. He's not going to fall victim to that double right-hander that Daniel Shelton ended up falling to. As off the exit now, turn number 10, opening up the DRS, getting the power down as early as possible, running in towards sector 3. He's up by 600 per second. However, with everyone else out on the circuit, I don't believe this is going to be enough. I think most drivers are all at risk, and in fact, Alexander Kraft is actually out on circuit at the moment, despite being the quickest of the bunch and being the only man to be on the 1 minute 9s. So plenty of pressure riding on the shoulders of all of these guys as Harlan Marquis comes across the line. 1 minute 10.038. He's P2 at the moment, but is that going to be enough?
It is going to have to hope so for Harlan Marquis' sake as he rounds the final couple of corners. We ride on board with Istvan Pukki crosses the line now. He's just on an outlap at the moment as everyone starts to come through their times. As Shanaka Clay puts it into P2 there with a 1 minute 10.015. Max Vissel beats that to a 10.004. Kjelton retires from the session, doesn't think he can go any better, and he is out of qualifying as everyone now starting to set their paces. Taman Shooter puts it into P7 with a 10.090. Definitely at risk at Veloce. His teammate Harvey Cohen crosses the line right about now. He's about to start his lap here in Q2. Xander Van Deeken is slowing down. Alfie Butcher crosses the line now. He's on an outlap as well. I think the Haas guys are on one as well, as I think we're about to see Piotr Stacek cross the line now. They're on a lap, crosses the line, P3 for him. Not too bad for Stacek as Matthias van Erven, his teammate, crosses the line now. Can he get himself into Q3? So far, might be okay.
I've just seen Xander Van Dyken spinning on his lap, and that is going to see him out of this session. Still plenty of runners on laps at the moment. It's Van Pookie coming up towards the line now in that drop zone. We'll see what he can do. He goes P7 and eliminates Jack West from this session. Shinaka Clay is up next across the line. He's not pushing at the moment. However, his teammate Will Lewis ever so slightly down in the first sector. We'll see what he can do as he heads out the final corner. He's almost flat on battery. He's coming back into the pit lane. Will Lewis, his day is going to be done. That leaves Harvey Cohen up next across the line. Will he be able to get out that drop zone, Josh?
He's going to have to hope so, but he's going to dive into the pit lane, so he thinks he can't improve. Xander Van Deeken, we saw him from his spin, so that pretty much brings a premature end to Q2 here, and it is Time and Shooter just gets through by the skin of his teeth. 5,000ths of a second compared to Jack West in P11. Xander Van Deeken is 12th, a pretty poor day for RHE there, and one driver knocked out in Q2 with Xander Van Deeken. Will Lewis on debut will be definitely disappointed with a 10.1 there. Harvey Cohen as well on debut will be gutted as well in 14th, and Daniel Collegian could not get himself running in P15, but Alexander Kras for VSR topping them lot, and is the only driver to get into the 0.9s, 27,000ths, separating himself to Max Whistle and Piotr Stashlik as well.
Absolutely, I think there's only about two teams that actually have all two of their drivers in the third part of qualifying. Haas have both of their runners in the final in towards Q3. The other team being TF10, Max Wiesel in second, Holler Marquise in at sixth. Fantastic day for TF10, and being one of the community-based teams, being in this upper echelon, fighting it out with some of the pro esports team. It's going to be a fantastic feeling for them. Of course, on a circuit that's very hard to overtake as well, they're going to be in a very confident position. Shout out as well to Alexander Kraft topping this session. It's Van Pookie as well for Parnell, and Conor Muir getting himself into the final parts of qualifying. We've certainly got a mixed-up grid here, Josh.
Absolutely, and excuse me, look how close it is between the top 8, everyone within the same 10th as each other. Absolutely incredible end to qualifying too. They're so close indeed. And VSR with Alexander Kras just seem to be cooking these last 2 rounds at France. And now at Zandvoort, could they be maybe favourites for pole position here, Dan?
Yeah, we'll have to wait and see. I mean, Alexander Kraft, he's got the pace in qualifying, but of course in France he was involved in an incident. So maybe that is going to be his Achilles heel heading into this race. As we load in towards Q3, all the drivers are going to immediately be coming out onto circuit, Josh. However, there's quite a bit of rain beginning to pour on the circuit. The track is still in dry conditions. This is going to be a race as to who gets out the pit lane first.
Yeah, I don't know if you saw my reaction on stream there, but looking as a bit of shock as I start to see rain pours coming out in qualifying, and it's Piotr Stachlik already out and running. This is going to be one lap and go here in qualifying 3 for the Dutch Grand Prix. Piotr Stachlik will be the first one to cross the line, might be the one who's on pole position with, I think that's Matthias van Erven just behind him in P6. Alfie Butcher is next with him, alongside Conor Muir, who gets in front with SRT in Q3 as well, alongside Shinaka Clay as oh, Jesus Christ, it's so close here in qualifying. Isvan Pookie behind him, but alongside the 2 TF10 drivers of Harlem Marquis and Max Whistle, with crucially Alexander Kraft on the back foot at the back, which might mean he starts P10. Depends how close it gets, wow, how wet it gets in these qualifying sessions. This could be the one and only lap here in qualifying, Dan.
Yeah, and Jonna Martin's absolutely correct in the live chat, saying that Haas is going to be in one of the best positions simply because they're down the pit lane order. Both of them been able to get out first. Piotr Stachlik now headed through the first few corners, and Matthias van Erven following just in behind. If the rain begins to fall heavy enough towards the mid part of this session, then surely these guys are going to be fighting it out for P1 and P2. However, there's still plenty of action left to be had in this qualifying session, and if the rain doesn't come heavy enough, well, some of these drivers, they might have another opportunity to go for a lap, but it is all on this run for these guys. If they make a mistake, it could be the bitter end to their qualifying. So far, Piotr Stachlik looking solid on his run. He's obviously not able to push as hard as he is able to once it is a full set, just the fully dry conditions. However, still making an effort through here. He's in now sector 3 as he heads out of the chicane. PR Stahalek, could this man be on pole?
He could be indeed as he rounds the final couple of corners. Piotr Stachelek could be the man who does it as he just crosses the line. First of all, the DRS crosses the line for Stachelek. He crosses the line now. It's a 10.7. What can his teammate do? Matthias Van Herven, he can go to a 7.62. Alfie Butcher tops the lot with a 10.576. Shanaka Clay P2. Conor Muir is P3 as we all start to get them lapped down. Isfan Pookie P7. Timon Shooter is P3 as Alexander Kraft in P6. That is everyone across the line. Sorry, we couldn't get anyone done, but it's Alfie Butcher who currently sits at the top. Shanaka Clay is P2. Shooter is third with Muir in fourth. A brilliant day for SRT. Marquis is fifth. Kraft is sixth. Oh, it's Stachelek 7th, Van Herven is 8th, Pookie is 9th, and Vissel is in the top 10. That might be the way it ends here, Dan.
Yeah, well, it all depends on whether Mother Nature is feeling kind to the likes of Alfie Butcher, Shanaka Clay, and Timon Shooter if she wants to gift them the top 3 spots in qualifying. If she does, the rain's going to fall even heavier. The softs aren't going to be the viable tyre anymore. No one can improve on their laps. We could have a premature end to qualifying as we head back into the pit lane. I'd imagine that this could be the end, and if we see runners come back into the pits and then retire, then we'll know that there's no real point of them even continuing because the rain is just going to get worse and worse. But yeah, Alfie Butcher, he'll be happy with this P1. Shanaka Clay not too far off in second. Timon Shooter, he's been able to just about survive through these qualifying sessions. I think he'll be very pleased with P3, but as you said, Josh, I'd say the standout performance in Q3 so far, Conor Muir in P4. Very impressed with the SRT man today, and hopefully he's going to be able to gather them some valuable points as they sit 9th at the moment in the standings. Not looking too good for Streamline Racing Team at the moment. However, this day could be their saving grace.
Absolutely low. Conor Muir getting their best qualifying session to date. We'll just have a run of the standings for you just as we get ready to go for the race. It is Williams Esports who top the standings with 108 points compared to Veloce Elite second place with 67 points to their name. Race Clutch in P3 with 62 points, with Parnell Racing in P4 looking to try and get into that top 3 tonight, with RHG in 5th. Viscarals are 6th with 30-19. TF10 sits 7th with 34. FER are 8th, 7 quality band tonight, with SRT in 9th, as we said crucially, and Haas sit in P10. But as we move over to the gameplay, Alexander Kraft deciding to go for one more, and maybe the track just seems to be that splitting point.
Yeah, well, Conor Muir's decided to retire in the pits. He doesn't see any real point of going out once again. However, Jono Martins, of course, I'd imagine he'd be engineering for the Veloce team here, saying that quality is not done. To be fair, fresh tyres are still faster, it says, so there is an incentive to come out of the pit lane, just test the waters on the circuit, see if you can find any time. Alexander Kraft being the first one to do so. Isfan Pookie deciding to retire in the pit lane, and Timon Shooter coming out of the box as well. I mean, yeah, Alfie Butcher, if he's retiring from P1, surely that means that there's no real point of coming out once again. You know, these guys won't be able to improve, but Josh will be able to see by the end of the first sector if there was really any point of them coming out to set a lap once again, as Alexander Kraft, he'll be leading P. Stahalek and Matthias Van Herven, who will also be leading from Timon Shooter in behind.
Absolutely so. Max Vissel and Harlan Marquis putting on the intermediate tyres in the box. From the looks of it, doesn't seem too dry, as we might have just seen a little bit of a dash of a puddle there from Alexander Kraft, but we'll see what the lap times are for Alexander Kraft. He heads into turn 1. How is his delta as he flicks towards the right-hand side, heading up towards the curbs and into the fast wounding of the right and in towards the left once again. Heading towards the spoon, which goes uphill. 2 ways you can take that. Traction, not too bad on the mediums, so it could be dry after all. As we flick towards the left and a flick towards the right. What is Kraft? He's 3/10 down, so maybe it was pretty much a lost cause after all, but 3 tenths down. I don't see him trying to improve to that as Peter Stachelek retires from the session. We'll have a look what Matthias van Ervenstone. He's decided to keep his lap going. I think Timon Shooter is as well, but maybe just in those few moments, the rain just got a little bit too heavier, and I think that could bring an end to qualifying as, yeah, Alexander Kraft 5 tenths down on his personal best.
Yeah, Matthias van Erven 7 tenths down, and then Timon Shooter is down by 2 tenths of a second at the moment. Oh, it's 2.6 actually, so he's backed off on his lap. But yeah, there's no point these drivers going once again. Timon Shooter is deciding to drift the car. He's having fun at the moment in his McLaren. Fair play to him. I mean, they don't need to use these tyres throughout the race. Max Wiesel just come out for an outlap, interestingly enough, but surely it's going to be getting relayed information from the driver, from their engineers, that there's no point in coming out once again. Van Erven retires in the pit lane, as does, I'd imagine, Alexander Kraft. Yeah, they're all going to stop here. And I think we can get a quick end to qualifying, but if the runners want to continue, Max Wiesel on track has just retired actually, so I think it's him more than ever that we need to think about. Harlan Marquise has come out onto the circuit on a set of the intermediates for whatever reason here. Of course, maybe seeing if they are quicker at the moment. He's the only driver yet to retire, and we're just going to be waiting on him, I guess.
Yep, so he thinks a little bit more practice is to be done on the intermediate compound, so that's just to make sure everything's okay for the race. But we'll wait for Harlan Marquise to do a little bit of an intermediate lap, and then we will see where will we go for qualifying. It's currently will be Alfie Butcher on pole position. Schnacke Clay sits P2 with Simon Shooter in P3. Colin Muir, their best result with SRT in P4. Harlan Marquise will be P5 with Alexander Kraft. Another great qualifying from him in P6. Peter Stachelek sits P7, sorry, if I can get my words out. Matthias van Erven is P8, and Isvan Pukki sits P9 with Max Wissel in P10. And not a bad day for TF10, but I'm sure Max Wissel will probably want to be a little bit higher. Harlan Marquise comes back in the pit lane. We can start the race.
Yeah, we get a little bit earlier in towards the race, and it was interesting for him to go for an outlap just to come back into the pit lane, but each to their own, I suppose. That leaves Alfie Butcher on pole position with his banker time, of course, in these inter-slick conditions, as I think they like to be called. Schnacke Clay off by 8 thousandths of a second. Timon Shooter on the second row alongside Conor Muir, then Harlan Marquise in P5 alongside Alexander Kraft. Peter Stachelek and Van Erven make it a all-Haas row 4. And then rounding out the top 10 is Isvan Pukki and Max Wiesel. That brings us, I'd say, Josh, honestly, an anticlimactic end to qualifying.
Yeah, definitely so. The touch and go was pretty much there all the way through. But that is the end of qualifying. We'll get you into the race. But just quickly, we will have a quick ad break, and we'll give you a word from our sponsor. Welcome back to the PSGL E-Series. We're here for round number 3 of the season. I think we're about to get ready. Going into the race, we'll flick you back over to our Grand Prix screen, and we can start the Dutch Grand Prix. We're heading over to 5 red lights here in Zandvoort, and it should be an absolutely incredible race we have in store for us. 5 seconds to go, and we can start the Dutch Grand Prix. Place your bets in the chat who you think will be on our race winner at the end as we head to 5 red lights for the Dutch Grand Prix. The first time in the PSGL E-Series. 5 lights are on. They go out and we're racing here in Zandvoort. A good start from Alfie Butcher, immediately getting the jump on Shanaka Clay, but Clay is getting a great second phase, diving down into turn one and takes the lead of the Dutch Grand Prix. What a start from the Williams driver. Alfie Butcher, does he have a reply? Yes, he does. Round the outside, flicks it over and says thank you very much. Well back into the lead. Shanaka Clay loses that into the second phase. His time and shooter still in P3. Muir is P4 with Alexander Kraft having a great start of P6 and already fighting Conor Muir for P4. Does he want to have a look down that inside of the Aston Martin? Not quite yet. Still hangs his nose in. Gets the better traction side by side. Kraft down the inside for VSR. What a move this could be. They're still side by side. The two of them down the inside. Once again, the punishment goes. Forces him out wide. Gets on towards the curve.
No.
It's gone. It's gone for Conor Muir. Getting onto the wrong side of the curves. That is it for Conor Muir. Round at the back of the field. Could be a steward's inquiry for that one. Maybe not enough room given for Alexander Kraft, and he moves into P4. But if Butcher leads, Clay in second, Shooter fourth, Kraft is fifth, Marquise is sixth, and Max Wissel passing away Will Lewis. What a start that was, Dan.
All the work that Conor Muir put into qualifying, getting himself into the upper echelons of the grid, all gone to waste as all of these drivers, they're fitting the mediums and the soft compounder tyres. I think we're going to see rain on the way as Jack West utilising those softs to their greatest effect. He's already up into P5. He's up 6 places at the end of lap number 1 as he heads in towards the first sector. He just got by on Harlan Marquise and Alexander Kraft will be his next target. Xander Van Dyken's not been able to really have the same luck. He's held position in P12, but given that he's on a set of softs, you really do expect more as Jack West. He already smells blood in the water. He's on the back of Alexander Kraft, headed in towards turn 6 and 7, turn 8 and 9 on the horizon for him. Will he maybe send a late move down the inside? Indeed he will. Jack West utilising those softs to their best work in towards now P4. He's got a podium in his sights. However, those softs, they won't last very long, Josh, and if the rain doesn't hit before them, he might be forced into an early pit stop.
He's going to have to hope they will go as long as possible until the rain comes, because he's absolutely on a storm at the moment. And obviously, as you said, Dan, best about 5, 6, 7 laps on those soft compound tyres. They don't last for very long. Same as Xander Van Dyken, who's currently sitting in P12. Everyone on the medium compound tyres, bar those two drivers on the soft compound tyres, as Jack West might want to have a go once again. Currently setting the fastest lap of a 12.829. His next target is time and shooter in P3. The DRS is enabled for the first time this race. And Jack West is a man on a mission at the moment. Wants this podium. He can smell the podium on track early doors on the soft compound tyres. And Alfie Butcher, Shanaka Clay and Time and Shooter want to try and get away on those medium compound tyres. Shooter is going to have to defend for his life at the moment, unless he just lets him go and just starts to play in that little bit of a battle. And maybe we could have some rain on our hands. But only West and Van Dyken on the soft compound tyres, we could say that it might not come for quite a while.
Yeah, very interesting indeed, but we'll have to wait and see how this race develops as it goes on. DRS, of course, being enabled. We'll get their first taste of it down in towards turn number 11. In the DRS run, it is very difficult for the drivers to overtake one another, because the effects of DRS are, in essence, they're cancelled out by one another. If Van Pookie is still getting close to the back of Piel Stalek, he's already been able to clear one of the Haas drivers of Matthijs van Erven. We'll see if he's able to get by on his teammate this evening, as out of the final corner they go. Shanaka Clay also looking close to the back of Alfie Butcher. He could go for the move towards turn 1. Butcher defending ever so slightly in it towards Tarzan Bocht, and he's able to stay ahead. Not a huge commitment from Shanaka Clay there. If he used more of the battery, I'd imagine the Williams would have been up the inside and in towards P1 out of the exit of the first corner. He's just going to bide his time for the time being and save some of his battery. Time and Shooter not getting that memo. He's already down to 20%. Jack West doing much the same, 5% in his AlphaTauri. That is blinking red light territory. Eros power, Josh, is going to be reduced by 50%. So that could be of him pushing a bit too hard early on, now shooting himself in the foot now.
Absolutely, and I don't know if I'm playing myself, but I don't know if I'm playing, but I'm starting to see a few spots of rain. Maybe on the Halo, unless that's just me with my imagination. I'm pretty sure it probably is, as Alfie Butcher currently leading, but Shanaka Clay is closing in. Time and Shooter is in P3 with Jack West in P4, probably on the best scenario if it is currently raining right now. I'm not sure if my eyes are deceiving me or not, but they probably are, but we'll have to wait and see as Alfie Butcher and Shanaka Clay going side by side, heading up towards turn one. Clay with the ERS using a lot, maybe the rain is coming after all. Round the outside goes Clay and retakes the lead of the Dutch Grand Prix, and Alfie Butcher relegated down into second, as Butcher, however, getting a little bit of a bad run out of the final couple of corners. Could he go around the outside, maybe a little bit of contact, but look at Jack West around the outside, a time shooter going for the high line. Stunning move from West. What a move there was for the Aston Martin. The rain, I think, is definitely here. You can see the spots on your screen. Jack West round the outside, using the soft tyres to his advantage. What a move from the youngster.
Absolutely incredible stuff from Jack West there, and I think he has absolutely nailed it by going with the soft compound tyres, because the rain is coming. He's up the inside now of Alfie Butcher. No room at the end on the inside, and if he committed to that ever bit more harder, he'd have been into a spin. But Alfie Butcher with a bad exit out turn number 10 allows for Jack West to sneak up the inside. Now into P2. DRS has been disabled. The rain is coming, and it is coming very quickly indeed. I don't believe that it is enough for the intermediate tyres at this point. Although DRS being disabled, that is certainly one of the signs that it is time to come into the pits. We'll see what Shanaka Clay opts to do. He's going to peel off to the right hand side, as is most drivers on the grid. Of course, if you're double stacking, you're not going to be able to box with your teammate. Stays out, as does Pookie, Wiesel, and I'd imagine Christoph Zeller as well in there. Nardi Perez, they're all staying out on their medium tyres for one extra lap. Shanaka Clay will be leading this race as he exits the pit lane, and there it is, all of them. They're all coming into the pits, and it is a unanimous decision. The intermediate tyres are in effect now.
Absolutely. So 30 laps on the intermediate tyres should be fairly straightforward, as everyone coming into the pits, bar the top 5, we're definitely in a bit of spotted trouble on those medium compound tyres. Stachelek, Pookie, Vissor, Seller and Perez deciding to stay out that one more lap. You can see it is very, very slippery. As you can see there, Stachelek losing traction all the way through that couple of corners, and it is really starting to get quite wet out here. You can definitely tell the intermediates are the correct choice. But luckily, no one getting caught out there. But Shanaka Clay currently leading this one by a 10.5 to Alfie Butcher in P2. Jack West currently on a net P3 with a brilliant strategy on the soft compound of tyres. The timing shooter currently in P4. Kraft sits P5. Van Erven 6th. Obviously, net positions as well. Marquis P12 for F1 Ferrari 13th. Will Lewis 14th. Cleachon 15th. And Deacon sits 16th with Brown 17th. Cohen 18th. Sousa 19th. And Conor Muir trying to catch up after that spin on the first lap in P20 as the top 5 now come into the box.
Yeah, Nardi Perez with a 5-second time penalty for speeding in the pit lane. He's done the exact same thing as his teammate. It's hard to get the car stopped, to be completely fair, in these wet conditions. But Stachelek will see what the damage is of not coming into the pit lane and not double stacking with his teammate. It's actually not too bad. He's come out just behind Matthijs van Erven. I think he's remained in P7 here. So really well done from Piotr Stachelek to get his car around on the set of the mediums when it is clearly time for the intermediates. And I think he's done very well indeed. So Haas, they're looking to get their season well and truly underway. A hard race in Imola, double disqualification in France. I think these guys, they have potential to get into that top 5 and a potential podium here.
Absolutely so. And probably from the looks of things, it is also touch and go whether to see if it will rain until the end. Probably going to assume it might be just from past races. It usually does rain until the end, but we'll have to wait and see about that. But anything can happen. Of course, we could see a drier spell coming in to the end as Jack West under the back of Alfie Butcher at the moment. They ran the final couple of corners here in Zandvoort. Heading on towards the back straight. Probably nothing doing here. It's going to have to be full straight line speed right up until the end. Jack West pulling to the left-hand side to sort of scare his ex-rival on the Xbox platform. He's actually gone quite deep as Alfie Butcher, which could open the door for Jack West. They go side by side, heading up towards turn number 3. Not enough there for Jack West to mull to move, but absolutely on fire at the moment. Once again, to that inside line, the traction is a little bit better. They go side by side. Once again, this could be a better opportunity for Jack West down the inside. Job is a good one. Jack West up into P2.
Yeah, very nice indeed from Jack West, but Shanaka Clay escaping up the road. He's now 2.5 seconds clear, just over that, ahead of ahead of Jack West. So really well done from him indeed. Alfie Butcher relegated down into third. Alexander Kraft sitting behind Timon Shooter in P5. He's getting close to the back of the Veloce Elite runner, and he's got plenty more ERS to dispose of headed down the straight. But without DRS, it is very difficult to actually utilize the ERS to full effect and amount a challenge. So I think for the next few laps, Josh, we're just going to be seeing these guys running in these same positions and being around about there. I think at this point it is key to just get into a rhythm, and settle down. Not make any rash moves because it's a long race. We're only on lap number 9 of 36. We're not even a quarter of the way through. But Shinaka Clay, he started this race very, very strong.
He absolutely has, and bolted away by almost 3 seconds to Jack West at the moment. Getting news in, Alfie Butcher maybe with damage as he hit the wall out of the final corner. So this could be playing to the hands of Timon Shooter and Alexander Kraft in a few laps' time. Could this be a podium on the board for Veloce this season, as Timon Shooter in prime position to try and take Alfie Butcher in the next couple of laps? But these wet conditions are absolutely brutal at the moment. Just the traction seems to be absolutely nowhere with these cars, and obviously it rains, it definitely does pour, with the traction being sort of unrealistic this game, but it has been for quite a while, maybe a little bit less than it has done in previous years. It's definitely a massive factor on this year's game, as Timon Shooter really getting to the back of Alfie Butcher as the gap starts to slow down and gain a little bit more between Butcher and West as they come towards the final couple of corners, and Timon Shooter could be on to the back of Alfie Butcher in the next couple of laps.
Absolutely, as they begin lap number 10. Shinaka Clay still stretching the advantage. Timon Shooter getting close to the rear of Alfie Butcher, headed in towards turn 1. Had a half look at the inside of Butcher, but didn't amount a challenge, as now they head in towards the first sector. Could Alfie Butcher, if he makes a mistake here, be at the mercy of Timon Shooter? He really is beginning to fall off the back of Jack West here, and Timon in a strong place to try and challenge for a move over Alfie Butcher with a little bit more ERS in the battery. I actually tell a lie, they're pretty much dead even at this point. So Timon in a strong position to go for the move, but of course Josh, in that first sector you've got to be crazy or suicidal to go for an overtake through there, especially in the wet weather. Going offline through here is really going to be difficult for these guys. So unless it's a heavy braking zone and not a tricky traction zone, these guys I'd imagine they're all going to be sticking to that racing line.
Absolutely. Let's see who is crazy enough, though, to maybe make those dives, and who is committed to go for those dodgy moves. Maybe if it pulls off, it could be better for worse, as Alfie Butcher riding the second couple of corners. Hopefully Dan can join us in a couple of moments. I think you have just disconnected. Hopefully we can try and get you back in as quickly as possible. Timon Shooter currently in P4. Butcher closing in as much as he can, but look at Alexander Kraft as well, really starting to close back up to the back of the Veloce man. Jack West in P2, still trying to close away. 7 tenths between himself and Alfie Butcher. Timon Shooter in P4, of course, and Shinaka Clay is just absolutely bolted from the rest of the course. Currently 3.2 seconds in our background, but hopefully, Dan, you can join us if you have disconnected as quickly as possible.
I believe I need an invite. I think my internet is not having a good time. I mean, what can you do with uni Wi-Fi? It does like to do this, especially on my PC. It's not one of the best PCs in the world, but if I can get an invite, I'll be able to rejoin. I think it is set to invite only, so I can't get in here unless I have a message. No, I don't. So I'll need an invite before I get back in here, Josh.
Absolutely. Hopefully we can try and get you in as quickly as possible, but we'll just quickly flick on over to the battle as Timon Shooter had a little bit of a look there. Apologies, ladies and gentlemen. We'll just quickly try and get Dan back in as quickly as possible. Apologies for this, of course, but desperate times call for desperate measures, as hopefully we can try and get everything sorted as quickly as possible. as hopefully I can actually understand how to do this as quickly as possible. Let's have a look where you are. Apologies once again, ladies and gentlemen, for this. If I can try and find you on my screen. There you are. Hopefully, invite has just joined for you as quickly as possible, but we'll try and get back to the race. Alfie Butcher in P3, 1.5 seconds back from Jack West now as he started to battle with Time and Shooter. Now Jack West has a little bit more breathing room, but Time and Shooter all over the back. And Dan, now thankfully you're back.
Yeah, I'm just loading in to the lobby here, so I'll get myself back underway, but very excited to see where this race progresses from now. Still looking very close in the positions below Shanaka Clay as he just continues to run away in this race. Jack West also in a great position at the moment. However, further back behind, I mean, all of these guys very close together.
Absolutely. So everyone pretty much packed into the same DRS train, if you like. Obviously, we are not under DRS conditions, but from 3rd down to 19th, everyone within the same 10th of a second. Well, same second, if you like. Alfie Butcher currently under the crush of Time and Shooter, trying to catch up back to Jack West, but this could be the top two sorted if the track doesn't improve. Shanaka Clay leading by almost 4 seconds to Jack West in P2. Butcher is trying to catch up as best he can in P3 with Time and Shooter on his backside in P4. Alfie Butcher in P5 with Matthias van Erven in P6, followed closely by his teammate Peter Stachlik in P7. And is pretty much he was brave enough to make those sort of moves if you want to try and improve in this race.
Absolutely. We are almost, I think, we are actually just about a third of the way through in this Grand Prix. Still plenty of action left to be had. Alexander Croft, once again, he's been looking menacing in behind Time and Shooter. It's all about waiting patiently for your adversary to make a mistake and then go for the opportunity. As at this point, we'll just have a look at who are the biggest movers in this Grand Prix. Jack West, of course, up 9 positions with his impressive soft run, something that Xander Van Dijken wasn't able to recreate. The other driver who's benefited massively, F1 Ferrari 516 for FER, taking that qualifying ban. He's up 10 places in this race, although he does have a 5-second time penalty for speeding in the pit lane. Those are your biggest movers. Of course, at this point, Josh, the biggest loser in this race, Connor Muir, really do feel for him. He's only just about now getting onto the back of the train, and it looks unsalvageable for SRT today.
Absolutely. So unfortunate with that little bit of a misdemeanor with Alexander Croft just getting on the wrong side of the curbs, and that will always spit you out very, very awkwardly indeed. But hopefully he can try and catch up a little bit further to the pack as Nani Perez and Felipe Sousa just in front are starting to battle. We'll just further quick you down further towards the battle as Will Lewis, Istvan Pukki and Daniel Kalishin starting to get a little bit feisty as we start to move away a little bit from the top 3 battle for the podium. Will Lewis really starting to close up to the back of Istvan Pukki, but Daniel Kalishin is looking quite racy as well, but just obviously it is an awkward track Zandvoort to overtake, so we might just be stuck in these sort of close-ish DRS trains for quite a while, but Will Lewis and Daniel Kalishin probably looking the eagerest to try and make those moves up there.
Well, of course, these are drivers that had a rough qualifying, and I was on my screen lagging all over the place, so I don't actually know who is where at this point, but yeah, I think Will Lewis and Daniel Shelson didn't have a good qualifying, and now they really are seeking vengeance, and it's one of the pair of them both making up places so far. But yeah, definitely you have to think that they've got to go for the moves eventually. They've got to get by on the likes of Istvan Pukki and FVR, you know, for F1 Ferrari, and then Harlan Marquez. We've got a driver coming into the pits. That's Will Lewis actually coming into the box. Interesting to see what he is opting to do and what tyres he will be fitting. It's going to be a set of the full wets. Is it maybe another set of the intermediates for him? He's going to come into the pit lane now. Full wet tyres for Will Lewis.
Very interesting indeed. The full wets are on for Will Lewis. We'll see. We'll have a look. We'll just quickly have a look at his delta in these next few laps, but that is definitely going to prick up the ears of everyone else in this race. As Will Lewis, the first one to venture out on the extreme wet compounded tyres. Let's see if he is any quicker than everyone else in front. Don't know if I'm not quite intelligent enough of wet weather racing here in F1 22, but from the looks of things, it doesn't look that wet out there, but I could definitely be wrong. He's sort of throwing it towards Connor Muir at the moment is Will Lewis, but obviously just coming out of the pits on cold, wet compound tyres. We could be wrong, but we'll just have to have a look. Here comes Shanaka Clay right on the final corner. He's deciding to stay out. Jack West as well coming towards the final couple of corners. He's staying out as well. Could this be an interesting move for Will Lewis? Obviously, everyone will be scoring points. Excuse me, but this could be sort of a little bit of an interesting moment, and maybe just an experiment for Will Lewis just to see if he can try and climb up that table a little bit.
Yeah, I think that Will Lewis, he sees himself down the order, and he wants to just try for a gamble. If it works out, he's going to look like a genius. If it doesn't work, he'll look a bit of a fool. But yeah, he's not really gaining time at the moment. He's sliding all over the place. You really don't want to use the wet tyres until you see puddles starting to form around the circuit, and just riding on board with Will Lewis. I mean, there's a lot of water on the circuit. There's no real puddles beginning to form anywhere, so I don't think the wet tyres are the tyres for the time being. However, if he's able to get them long enough and not lose too much time, out of turn number 4 there, he looked absolutely atrocious. But yeah, if he doesn't lose too much time, and everyone else has to come into the pits for wets eventually, he could be in a strong position. But yeah, it's not looking the best for Will Lewis here.
Definitely not. It was a gamble that maybe that Williams might have been interested to find out on, but he might have just come out dead towards him. Shanaka Clay still leading this one to Jack West in P2. Alfie Butcher sits in P3 with Simon Shooter in P4, with Kraft really holding on well for VSR in P5. And Matthias Van Erven sitting P6 with his teammate Peter Stachlek in P7 at the moment. I think it's fair to say there, Dan, Will Lewis's plan for the wets probably isn't the best one he's had.
Yeah, absolutely. It's not going well for Will Lewis this evening, and it's a rough debut in the Williams camp for him. He's going to come back into the pit lane. I'd imagine this will be a set of the intermediates going back on to his car. Of course, there's no need to retire. There's points for every single position in this series, and so he'll just have to trundle along in P20. It will definitely seem very mundane and boring for him, but he's got to get it done, because Williams, they're at the top of the standings at the moment. Shanaka Clay leading the way in at this race. They are going to be in a very advantageous position this evening, and every little bit does help. So Will Lewis has got to stick it out if he wants to help Williams take the championship. And if he were to retire and Williams was to lose the championship by 1 point, and you'll know that he'll be kicking himself about that one.
Absolutely. So it does. It is a great rule to have points for every position. Just keep the drivers going and not let them give up and retire in the box. But it is great to know that everyone will be scoring points this race. So Will Lewis will be carrying that 1 extra point towards the team's championship. 4 points for Shanaka Clay, though, currently riding in P1. With Jack West in P2. 8 cents, though, to Alfie Butcher at the moment as he starts to claw back a little bit more of advantage as Simon Shooter starting to slow down a little bit more. With Alexander Kraft sitting P5. Matthias Van Erven still sitting P6. Just still a pretty quiet one so far. Not many people looking to make a few moves. Just everyone's still fairly happy just to make sure that they stay in their positions. And we could see this for quite a while unless it starts to dry up, which I'm going to assume. I don't think it will, Dan.
Yeah, no, we're almost halfway through this race. The rain still consistently pouring down on circuit. I mean, it's not looking any heavier than it was a few laps ago, but at this rate, drivers aren't clearing the water away quick enough, and they are still going to have to go along on the intermediate tyres. Maybe that's why we saw Harlan Marquis coming out on a set of the intermediates at the end of Q3. He wanted to get some practice in. Of course, Davenport, very tricky in the dry. It's even harder in the wet, so every little bit of practice does indeed help as they now reach the halfway point of this race for lap number 19. Still at this point though, Josh, not many drivers looking like they want to go for a move, and I think we're going to be strapping in for a few more laps of this.
Absolutely. So we could see something in the next couple of laps, as you just said, Dan. Still about 16, 17 laps to go in this race. here for round 3 of the Dutch Grand Prix at Zandvoort for the PSGL E-Series. Make sure to like and subscribe to the channel if you want to see some more action all the way through this season, not just of the PSGL E-Series, but of course for our other tiers. PCF1 is on Wednesday nights, of course, alongside our newest tiers. Obviously, season 33 just starting for F2 and beyond. And you can definitely check them all out with our top class commentators all the way through our tiers as well on Thursday nights as well. But we flick on over to our Friday night streams of PSGL of the E-Series. It's Alexander Kraft, 7 tenths, 8 tenths back on time and shooter at the moment, as he still starts to continue to try and catch up to the back of time and shooter, but Van Erven really on his mirrors at the moment as Pearson Stachek tries to catch up as well. But Shanaka Clay at the moment, it's been a faultless drive from him and leads the way by 5 tenths of a second.
Yeah, he's having a great run this evening. He's well clear of anyone else in this race. Jack West was beginning to pull away from the likes of Alfie Butcher, Shooter and Kraft, and now Alfie Butcher, he's been reeling him in for the last few laps, and time and Shooter, he's sort of being dragged along by the R8G representative. So yeah, we are still we're still a few laps away from actually seeing any battling at this point, but you know, still there's opportunities to be had. I see F1 Ferrari getting close to the back of Harlan Marquise. He is able to get that penalty removed. Of course, sometimes there's a known glitch where you get a 5-second time penalty for being exactly on the speed limit. I think it's got something to do with hidden decimal points somewhere along that number. But if he can get that one removed, P9 for FER would be a fantastic result for them. And I think there's been a lot of variety in this evening's race. I mean, there's loads of drivers spread throughout the grid. I believe the only team with both their drivers in the top 10 at this point in time is the Haas team of Matthijs van Erven and Piotr Stahelek. They are currently bottom in this championship, so they need consistent, strong performances from the pair of them. Today they are doing exactly that.
Absolutely. So Parnell currently sitting 2nd and 10th as well, trying to snatch that P3 spot out of Race Clutch. And I think right now they are doing just that. Jack West holding the fort nice and clean in P2 with Isam Pookie in P10. Could be P9 if F1 Ferrari can't take his 5-second penalty away for speeding in the pit lane. But we'll have to wait and see indeed. Matthijs van Erven 7 tenths back on Alexander Kraft's team with Kraft a Shooter. Shooter now starting to get back into the seconds of Alfie Butcher. Butcher 8 tenths off Jack West as well. But Shanaka Clay been absolutely nice in day so far. Currently leading the fort by 6 seconds. And when he pitted, he never looked back. Jack West trying to catch up though and trying to keep Alfie Butcher behind. And probably the strategy for him now, probably as we just said, Dan, is try and keep Alfie Butcher behind as long as possible.
Yeah, it's going to be difficult for him, but if push comes to shove and Alfie Butcher is the superior driver, maybe it is better to not fight it too hard. I mean, if it's like, just a few laps from now and it's not really close to the end, there's not going to be too much of a chance for Jack West to keep ahead of Alfie Butcher. So, yeah, he could be in a tricky situation. I'll definitely have to decide whether to risk it, to try and stay in P2, or just let him by, accept P3. Is a very strong haul of points for himself and the Parnell Racing team. But that decision is still a few laps away from now. We've still got plenty of action left to be had on lap number 22 of 36. So we're not too far from the finish at this point in time. I'm trying to see if we've really got any chance of a battle happening along the circuit. I mean, Harvey Collins close to the rear of Leroy Brown, but no one will go for a move in towards this first sector. Potential opportunity for Nardi Perez on the back of Felipe Sousa, struggling in the Mercedes. Can the Ferrari got the inside potentially in towards turn number 9? He'll have a better run at turn 8, but gets on the power a little bit too early. Almost spins the car. He'll have to stay behind Felipe Sousa for a few more runs.
Absolutely. So Nardi Perez was looking a little bit racy on the Brazilian of Felipe Sousa. Just couldn't quite get the job done back on the Mercedes, who's notably been struggling to try and catch up to the likes of Christoph Seller, who's currently in 16th, Veloce of Harvey Cohen 15th, trying to catch up to Leroy Brown as well for 14th, with Sander van Deeken 13th, obviously on track race winner at France last time out, with the disqualification, of course, brought him way back down to the order, and had to rethink out of that one. But RAG, for Sander van Deeken's sake, not had the greatest Grand Prix. Alfie Butcher still holding on there in P3. We're definitely trying to catch up to Jack West to try and get that second place as well. But from the looks of it, it will be Williams Day once again, taking 3 wins out of 3. Caraton with the win at Imola. Caraton with the win at France. Schumacher Clay will finally get his day, unless nothing bad happens. He's currently 6 seconds in the lead. Will get his race win and his second podium of the season.
We'll keep our fingers crossed for Schumacher Clay that he is able to take the win this evening. It'll also be Williams' first win on circuit. Of course, they were able to take the wins from stewards' inquiries in towards both the races being RAG drivers. The first being Alfie Butcher winning on circuit in Imola, and then in France, of course, the whole RAG and Haas. Could you call it a scandal? I don't think it's too much of a scandal, but their unethical teamwork, I would say, is maybe the best way to describe it. So yeah, Williams, if they are able to win with Schumacher Clay this evening, which if he's able to keep it nice and consistent, I think that is looking very likely. They'll won 3 races out of 3. They'll be well on their way, Josh, to taking victory in the PSGL series.
Absolutely. So I guess you could call it. Teamgate, if you like. You had a crash gate of 2008 at Singapore. You've had Spygate, of course, in 2007, and now you've got Teamgates of 2023 here in the PSGL E Series. But looking back at the championship, of course, Williams will be extending that by quite a bit. First for Schumacher Clay, 20th for Will Lewis. Good hole of points for them. Jack West will be taking those good hole of points for Parnell as well, sitting second. This one, Pookie in P10, could be P9. Of course, as well, Haas trying to catch up as well, 6th and 7th for them respectively. I think at the moment they might be the highest sitters at the moment, as Dan having a few more connection issues, unfortunately. But hopefully we can try and get him back as quickly as possible. But looking at the championship, Parnell and Haas probably looking like the highest scorers so far. I think we might have lost Dan altogether, as he's sort of frozen on my screen. Not sure if anything has happened together. They're still in the party. Hopefully Dan can hear me. Dan, I'll try what's more. Dan has gone for real, hopefully. Unfortunately, a few internet issues for Dan tonight. Hopefully we can try and get back in as quickly as possible. If he can't, then hopefully he can join us in the chat for us this evening. But looks like it is just me so far. Still Jack West closing in. Well, I say closing in. He's about 7.2 seconds back on Schumacher Clay so far. Alfie Butcher sitting P3. Timer Shooter losing that second gap once again in P4. About 10 laps still left to go in this race. With Alexander Kraft in P5, could be looked at for a penalty towards Conor Muir at the start of this one, with their contact early on. Matthias Van Erven 6th, Peter Stachelek in P7, closing in to the back of the Mercedes. And right now they'll be the highest scorers this race, with P6 and P7. Harlan Marquis sits P8 for TF10 at the moment, with F1 Ferrari from the back of the grid sitting P9. Obviously with that 5-second penalty, not looking good at all, as we have that ping of Tan leaving us, unfortunately, as we have a few pit stops happening. I think I might be Matthias Van Erven, yes it is, coming into the pit stops. We start to get a little bit of puddles in the pit lane. So we could see the wet tyres going on. Yes, we do. As the race starts to heat up a little bit more. Now it's the time for wet tyres a la Will Lewis, as Matthias Van Erven pits. So does Max Vissel, Christoph Seller, Harvey Cohen and Conor Muir all pitting for the wet compound tyres as it starts to get quite bad out here. You can start to see those puddles form a little bit offline on the track at the moment as Shanaka Clay struggling a little bit to get the power down using 5th gear out of the left-hander. It is not looking the greatest of conditions out there. Jack West sort of pulling back into 7.0 seconds, 7.1, fluttering all the way. We'll see where Shanaka Clay is heading out of the final couple of corners. Will we see the wet compound tyres go on for the Williams? He rounds the final corner. Does he decide to pit this lap? Yes, he is. Shanaka Clay coming in for the wet compounded tyres. It is now time as yellow flags further back. I think that is Conor Muir having a little bit of a moment. Jack West deciding to stay out. Butcher comes in, Shooter as well, Crafts, so as everyone's coming into the pit lane besides Jack West and Harlan Marquis. They think it is still, well, I say damp enough for the intermediates as everyone pitting besides Leroy Brown, Zanna Van Deeken, F1 Ferrari and Harlan Marquis at the moment. Will this gap pay off? As currently, I think it is Alfie Butcher who might have jumped Shanaka Clay in the pits. No, he hasn't. He's Shanaka Clay in P6. There's a gap of Alfie Butcher to Nani Perez, which is about 4 seconds deep. We'll have a look at the leaderboard then. See where Jack West will come out if he does decide to pit, unless he's going to try and stay out for these next couple of laps to try and hold on to this victory. Look at that, the puddles are already starting to form here at Zandvoort, and this could be a pretty interesting climax to the end. Jack West currently leading the fray with Harlan Marquis in P2. F1 Ferrari is P3, Zanna Van Deeken P4, Leroy Brown is P5. As Ferrari starting to catch up to the back of Marquis. We run the final corner with Jack West. Does he decide to pitless that? Yes, he does. A little bit too wet for the intermediates. Decided to go for one more. But he has decided to come in for the wet compound tyres. Now, Harlan Marquis staying out, however. So Harlan Marquis might be going for a longer game, maybe hoping that the intermediates will be enough just to stay out. We run on board with Jack West. Now, will he be enough in front of Alfie Butcher? This is going to be close, you know, in the pits. There goes Alfie Butcher around the outside. Does he take back that net P2? No, he does not. It's going to be close, but Jack West losing out to Alfie Butcher in the pit stops, just about holding on to Timon Shooter there. Unfortunate to see, but Jack West holding on to P8 at the moment. This could be where he stays. Could be P6 after penalties, but it is not looking good for the guys who decided to pitch. Shanaka Clay currently P5. Could this be the game where Harlan Marquis decides to stay out? We have a spinner. That is Matthias van Erven in 15th. He's lost his front wing. So it is very, very wet at the moment as Matthias van Erven spinning out and losing his entire front wing. Not ideal at all. He's going to have to pit again as these conditions become absolutely atrocious. At the moment, just the rain coming down so hard. There's still about 8 laps to go until the end. Harlan Marquis running the final couple of corners. I hear a chime. Is that Dan Field? Not quite yet. But Harlan Marquis still deciding to stay out there. There goes Shanaka Clay just in the distance, having a look on Leroy Brown down the inside. He will go. And that is easy as you like for the Williams Esports man. Heading up into P4 then. Dispatching of Leroy Brown as Harvey Cohen gets past the limping Matthias van Erven. Was looking good points for Haas, but just slipping away with the pit stops. As Matthias van Erven comes into the box for a fresh set of the wet compound tyres and a new front wing. Shanaka Clay could be the only one here who makes these moves start to count. Jack West closing in to Alfie Butcher as well, and you're probably looking likely these intermediates runners are not going to pit, so this could be the day for TF10 with Harlan Marquis, unless F1 Ferrari can try and hold on to, or try to catch up. Downfield, I think it is over for him. I'm so sorry there, mates. And there goes Jack West around the outside of Alfie Butcher. Not having it. No, you don't, says Alfie Butcher. He's still going to try and hold on for this P7. Jack West closing in as much as he can to the back of Alfie Butcher. This could be some action we haven't seen for quite some time this race. Hopefully Danfield will be happy in our company next race at I believe our next race is at, we'll have a look where it is. We are at the Chinese Grand Prix next week. Make sure to tune us there, same time, same place as Jack West, rounding the final couple of corners. 6 laps still to go. Harlan Marquis isn't going to pits for the wet compound tyres. He's going to make that risk, and hopefully that risk is going to count. Shanaka Clay closing into the back of Xander Van Deeken as they were on the final couple of corners of Sector 1, heading out of the exit. And Shanaka Clay with the better tyres on. Is he close enough to try and make this move stick? As he comes up towards the hill, it's be a very, very lucky dive if he was going to go for it there. He's not in a massive rush, is Shanaka Clay at the moment, as F1 Ferrari is looking racy on the back of Harlan Marquis as well. We've come back to Shanaka Clay. Down the inside he goes, and he has dispatched of Xander Van Deeken. Heads up into P3, 6 laps to go. Can the job be done for Shanaka Clay? It is looking pretty decent so far in this race for him to still hold on to this race. As we have a spinner once again. I think that's Matthias van Erven in the walls again. It's been a horror show on the wet compound tyres. Decides to retire on the track. There'll be a few penalties towards Haas going towards him. But I think that'll be points well wasted. But it is his decision at the end. Shanaka Clay getting a little bit of a spinner out of the final corner there to head up into turn 1. Harlan Marquis and F1 Ferrari, 5 laps until the end. 5 laps, and can they hold on to this historic win here in Zandvoort? The intermediates might just hold on. It is not the time for the intermediates, but they've decided to just try and keep things going. They took a risk and hoping to try and catch up. Alfie Butcher trying to slow down to help Xander Van Deeken in this position. Jack West, as we've just been told by Jonah Martins in the chat. Thank you, Jonah, for our continued help in our broadcast to hope to get us updated on where everything is. Alexander Kraft as well, looking racy on the back of Time and Shooter. So is Jack West as well, as they head up towards sector number 2, the end of sector 2 into sector 3. So you want to have a look down that inside, not quite yet. As they still have a look. Alfie Butcher trying all his might to try and defend from Jack West here. I'm sure he is not looking, well, he's probably not very happy under that crash helmet of Jack West, as they still continue to push forward to the left and to the right. We're flicking over to the back. Shanaka Clay could have a nice and easy slipstream heading up towards the back straight. Still 2 laps left to go in the 2 laps. There's still loads of 2 laps, about 4 or 5 laps left to go in this race. There goes Shanaka Clay. How to look to the inside of F1 Ferrari. No answer from the Ferrari of F1 Ferrari in FER. And into P2 goes Shanaka Clay. And next up on his hit list is Harlan Marquis for the leads of the Dutch Grand Prix. And there goes Jack West down the inside of Alfie Butcher. They're still side by side here. Jack West still pushing all his might. They go side by side. A little bit of contact made. Round the outside goes Jack West. And this could involve Time and Shooter as well. Still pushing all the way through. Butcher is crucial to want to try and hold this position for his teammates' sake, and does so. The Minister of Defence for Great Britain is Alfie Butcher, and holding on to this P7 for dear life as they try to catch up to Nardi Perez in P6. To the right and to the right again they will go. Around the final corner, as in our picture just further up, Shanaka Clay did get past Harlan Marquis and now takes the lead of the Dutch Grand Prix. Jack West, as there goes Alexander Kraft, actually having a look on Time and Shooter, gets the job done, and VSR continue to hold on. Alex Morte shouting red flag for this race, is probably in F1 you might just do that with the paranoia of the wet. But we'll continue in the sim, which is a beautiful place, of course. No red flags in the game. As Alexander Kraft continue to push forward on Jack West. Jack West trying to close up to Alfie Butcher. Alfie Butcher, however, wants to have a little bit of a look on Nardi Perez. Jack West is crucial if he tries to follow through. If Alfie Butcher gets the job done around the outside, he will go and just about holds through. As there goes Nardi Perez, having a little bit of a moment of himself. But Jack West does follow through. Job done for him, as this Van Pookie gets past Peter Stakschlek in our background as Alexander Kraus gets past Nadi Perez as well. 3 laps to go in this Dutch Grand Prix. Shanaka Clay leads by 4.3 seconds to Harlem Marquise in P2. F1 Ferrari is third with Sander van Dieken in P4. So looking at the podium is on the cards. For Sander van Dieken with F1 Ferrari's penalty. Leroy Brown could still be on for the cards with SRT as well after Conor Muir's spin at the start. It still could be option for SRT in the Aston Martin as well. Jack West trying to close up to Butcher as well with Alexander Kraft looking tasty on Jack West as well. But Shanaka Clay will start lap 34 of 36. Still 3 laps to go in this Grand Prix. Alfie Butcher on the back now of Leroy Brown on the intermediate compound tyres. It's just a matter of time before Alfie Butcher gets the job done. Down the inside, Brown was never going to fight that one. And the job done is clear, and so does Jack West follow through on Leroy Brown as well. Could this be an opportunity down the inside if he's brave enough? Not quite enough, but Alexander Kraft maybe looking a little bit brave enough. Down the inside he goes. Mercedes gets the job done on the Aston Martin, and the job is a good one. P5 for Alfie Butcher, P6 for Jack West. Alexander Kraft now up into P7, and next up is his teammate as there goes Sander van Dieken, lets him go. P4 is on the cards for Alfie Butcher, gets the job done. Jack West is P5. The podium is now starting to heat up ever so slightly. It's F1 Ferrari with that 5-second penalty. This is for the fight for the final point of the podium. Could turn out to be P2 as well with Harlem Marquise slowing down on the intermediate compounder tyres. This race has started to heat up ever so slightly. There goes Sander van Dieken, there goes Thomas Schuster, sorry, on Sander van Dieken. And there goes Dan Deacon actually into the wall, having a little bit of a spin. And that is less than ideal for the Alfa Romeo driver on the intermediate tyres. Just the wetness could not be enough. As Jack West, Alfie Butcher, sorry, down the inside of F1 Ferrari. This is for the podium. Down the inside, he will go. Job done. Jack West follows through. Job done indeed. And Alexander Kraft will be looking to try and get the job done as well. So this is for P2 now. Alfie Butcher trying his best to close up in towards turn number 1 down the inside. He will go. Marquise, his podium venture is over. So unfortunate for him. He tried it, did not work. And Butcher gets through into P2. Jack West is P3 now. Hoping for that P2. As he goes into the back of the Alfa Romeo, just ever so slightly. Hopefully no damage done on the Alfa Tauri of the Barnow Racing drivers. Simon Shooter in the walls as well. What has happened there? F1 Ferrari gone round the outside, gone round in a spin. As might have just caught a little bit of a puddle, not ideal. And that is F1 Ferrari spinning out of the race as Piotr Stachnek now overtakes Harlem Marquise for P6 in this race. Alfie Butcher currently P2. Jack West is in P3. It'll still be an absolutely brilliant drive for him. Christoph Seller, 5-second penalty for ignoring yellow flags. And he gets past Sander van Dieken for P number 12. But this man here, Shanaka Clay, has been absolutely nice and day. 11.7 seconds he leads so far. The strategy works. When the pit lane calls, he's been absolutely clear as day. And he will be the race winner in the Dutch Grand Prix. And it's going to be 3 for 3 for Williams. And what a day, what a season they are having. And we will take this lap with Shanaka Clay just to see where he was. Just absolutely incredible drive from him once again as he heads up towards the final couple of sectors now. Heading out of the hill. And Williams will be having an absolute field day once again. Will Lewis currently 19th. Excuse me. Will Lewis finishing 19th with an interesting move. Well, he tried the wets, did not work, a little bit too early, and he decided to flick on back to the intermediates and then started to heat up a little bit more. But the strategy just was not there for Will Lewis today, unfortunately. But the strategy has absolutely been there for Shanaka Clay as he runs the final couple of corners in this Dutch Grand Prix. Night and day, as we just said, a faultless drive for the Brits, as he is going to win the Dutch Grand Prix. Right on the final couple of corners, Shanaka Clay will take his first victory of the season. It's Williams third, 3 out of 3 for them. What a day they've had today. What a season they're having so far. It's 3 for 3 for William Schnacker Clay. Rounds the final corner. It's his day under the rain here in Dutch. Here in Holland, it's Schnacker Clay who wins the Dutch Grand Prix. It is Alfie Butcher, I think, will just hold on to P2. Jack West is going to finish P3. A stunning drive from him. Alfie Butcher is Jack West is P3. Alexander Kraft is P4. Isfan Pookie sits P5. What a drive from Parnell as well. They will surely take P3 in the constructors standings. Daniel Clayton will finish P7 on debut. Max Vissel is 8th. Timon Shooter is 9th, with Harvey Cohen in the top 10. Veloce very, very close together. With Sousa 11th, Marquis is 12th, Sella 13th, Brown 14th, Van Deeken is 15th, F1 Ferrari sits 16th with Perez in 17th, Conor Muir is 18th, and Will Lewis will sit P19. Matthias Van Erven retiring from the race with that crash. But the man of the day, Schnacker Clay, is victorious here in Holland. It's 3-4-3 for Williams. What a day they have had today, and what a season they are having indeed. Their first on-track win. What a win it was for Schnacker Clay. Hopefully we can try and get a few interviews in for them as well as we head to the podium finishes. What a race for them indeed. Absolutely fantastic for them. As we have a look with Schnacker Clay as he heads out for the podium ceremonies, and once again maximum points for Williams. Once again, Alfie Butcher on the podium as well, with Jack West getting his first podium of the season as well. But what a race it was for Schnacker Clay. A dry to wet one, but it is Williams who once again come out victorious. There it is then. It is Schnacker Clay who takes victory here in Holland, with Alfie Butcher sitting P2. Jack West sits 3rd and gets the fastest lap with another podium to his name, with P11 on the grid as well. Alexander Kraft gets VSR's greatest performance this season with P4. Isfan Pookie sits P5 as well. Great points for Parnell, with Piotr Stachlek in 6th. Daniel Clayton sits 7th, with Max Vissel in P8. Timon Shooter is 9th, with Harvey Cohen in P10. Felipe Sousa is 11th, with Harlan Marquis in P12. Christoph Sella is 13th, as Leroy Brown is 14th. Zan Van Deeken 15th, F1 Ferrari 16th, Nadi Perez 17th, with Conor Muir in P18. Will Lewis is 19th, and our retirement was Matthias Van Erven as well. We will have a look to our interviews once after this message. Absolutely fantastic. Hello everyone. There we go. Sorry for the mute there, but yeah, Jack, it's your first podium this season, and for Parnell as well. Was a little bit of an interesting one, but it was a good race from you.
Yeah, I was really frustrated about quali. I knew my pace in quali was good enough for a really strong result, but unfortunately I made a mistake in quali. But I think my engineers wanted me to go for the mediums, but I said that I'll take starting P11. I wanted to take a risk, and if it worked, then it would pay out really well, and it really worked. I mean, I went up to like P2 in the start, and then yeah, I think the softs obviously really helped, and then the wet pace was decent as well. Quite happy with the pace, to be fair. Shinaka was just on another level, though. I don't think anyone was getting close to him today. I think he was just insane. But I think I wasn't really sure about why everyone was pitting. And then, because the track felt exactly the same for me, from wets to winters, the track felt exactly the same. So I was really confused. And then everyone was saying that they were pitting for wets. So, yeah, I was kind of just not aware. But I pitted for wets, and unfortunately, I couldn't get Alfie today. But Istvan got P5 as well, so that's really strong points for the team. But yeah, I think today Shinaka was on another level, so there was no chance of beating him today.
Absolutely. Obviously, the wets played a massive part as well. Are you interested that some of the intermediates guys decided to stay out there?
Yeah, I mean, my engineers told me to pit, but I mean, at first I really disagreed. I didn't think it was worth going for, and like at the start, we really weren't gaining, and I was quite worried that we wouldn't get past the eighth or ninth or wherever we were. But I mean, the Inters worn out so much at the end of the race, allowed us to catch, and had a good battle with Alfie as well. Made some really good overtakes on the softs as well, and yeah, really happy with the race today. And it's obviously a good step forward from what the first few races were for me. But as a team as well, we've managed to, gain a lot of points on our rivals. So let's hope we carry on into the rest of the season.
Absolutely. You've had your fair share of unlucky races, but thankfully this is one for your books. Now, obviously, China next week. You're looking forward to that one if you are picked for Parnell?
China is one of my worst tracks, so I probably won't get picked, but I'm sure whoever drives will drive really well and, hopefully carry on the streak that we've gained today.
Absolutely. Well, massive congratulations once again, Jack. First podium for you, and good luck for the rest of the season.
Thanks.
Thank you very much, Jack West. I think we are joined by Shinaka Clay now, your race winner tonight. Shinaka, hopefully, if you are here with us, it's a race win for you, your first on-track win, of course, and obviously first race win of the season. It's got to be a really good feeling for you.
Yeah, it's a relief, to be honest. I had a shocker last week with some unfortunate incidents, but yeah, very happy to bounce back in what is definitely one of my worst tracks in really treacherous conditions. So yeah, super happy.
Absolutely. So yeah, Williams 3 for 3 now this season of Karaton, getting Imola and France up together with the disqualifications. How far can you think Williams can pull through towards the season? Do you think you can try and go 4 for 4?
Yeah, I mean it's been a dream start. Obviously, you can never rest on your laurels in a strong field like this. But yeah, we've had a very good start, so we'll keep on going for those wins as much as possible.
Absolutely. Obviously, the wet weather was probably the main talking point this race. You decided to gamble on the wets. Everyone decided to go for the intermediates. Do you think the race win was still in hand if there was probably very little laps still to go?
Yeah, I was very worried for a short period of that race, whether we made a mistake or not. It looked like we may have thrown that away, but fortunately it did continue getting wet enough, and in the end it wasn't close at all. But yeah, we were scared for a brief moment for sure. So definitely couldn't take it too easy despite the gap.
Absolutely. Obviously, China next week as well. Do you still think you can still keep pushing this season for the championship?
Yeah, certainly. I mean, as I said about Zandvoort, China's not a favourite of mine, but I don't think it's a favourite of many. But if we can pull out a good result in tracks that we don't like, then it's a good showing for tracks that we do. So yeah, hopefully more of the same next week.
Absolutely. Well, we'll let you go. Congratulations there, Shinaka, and great job for the win, and good luck for the rest of the season.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
No worries. Well, that pretty much brings us to the end of the stream. A pretty decent one there out of the Dutch Grand Prix here in Zandvoort. Thank you all very, very much for watching. It's been the end of the stream, of course, there. That is the Dutch Grand Prix. Thank you all very, very much for watching. Make sure to like and subscribe for the next one. We will see you same time, same place at Shanghai for the Chinese Grand Prix. Thank you all very, very much for watching. Take care and good night.